Welcome to this week's episode of the Masterclass. Super pumped and excited to have our Shannon or Chris Shannon in the house. I called you Shannon for a second. I apologize.
So I was called all growing up playing sports,
All
Shannon,
right.
everything.
All
Not a
right.
big deal.
Well,
I've been
that's
called
good.
worse.
So have I. So have I. So let's get started. So what are we talking about today, Chris?
Converting clicks into clients. So online buyer leads and turning them into clients. And before we start this, because I know this is going to live on YouTube and who knows how long it's going to live. On my nose, these are not boogers, these are stitches. So don't go by thinking I got boogers on my nose. I got into a tussle with a very excitable boxer puppy over the weekend and she got my nose. My nose was just hanging there. So just put that out there so people don't think I got boogers hanging on my nose all this whole time.
Okay.
Um, so
Now that I pinned you, now that you're bigger on my screen, I could see something there. But if you hadn't mentioned it, I wouldn't have noticed.
Yeah, same.
yeah, I
Um,
just wanted to get out ahead of it so people aren't like, why is this weirdo talking with boogers on his nose? Anyway. I am Kristopher Shannon. I am the broker in Ohio for fivrealty. We serve the greater Columbus area. We've been out all the way east in Ohio, all the way west in Ohio, south, north. So we will serve a great portion of Ohio, Columbus, and the surrounding counties. So if you have anybody coming to Ohio, give us a call. So converting clicks into clients, the reason I wanted to talk about this, my very first year doing real estate full time, I spent $1,100 between Zillow and Realtor.com, and I sold 56 units that year. It was just me. It was calling, it was showing, it was paperwork, it was all that kind of stuff. So basically what I wanted to kind of talk about was a little bit of my blueprint of what I did, how I did it, how I converted these, that good stuff. So I'm a big numbers person, so I kind of wanted to start this off with some statistics that people don't really know. And I have 5 highlighted questions. I asked Nazar earlier if we had a way that we could take somebody's information. So I'm going to ask these 5 questions. Whoever gets it right, I'm going to send you a gift card to maybe I'll go Sbarro, who knows, but maybe like a Starbucks or something like that. So if you get one of these right, make sure we get your information so I can send you a gift card and a thank you for participating. So the first one I have for you is the National Association of Realtors, NAR, said that the closing rate for an online lead is closer to what? So what do you think that conversion rate is?
for online lead,
Yeah, so what percentage? Robert, you said 4. You mean 4%? 3%, 5, 10, 2? Anybody else? 1%? All right, well, Jess, I guess I'm sending you something because it's 0.4 to 1.2%. So as I've been doing this, I've always thought it was 1 to 3%. So as I was getting ready for this, I wanted to get some updated numbers because stuff that I've been working on for the last 10 years may not be the same anymore. So 1 to 3, your best agents will convert at 3 to 5%. That's knowing what to say, that's knowing how to do it, that's your call cadence, that's everything. But you think about that 0.4 to 1.2%. That means you obtain 200 leads. For every 200 leads, online leads that you obtain, you're going to have 1 to 2 that turn into a client. So that's just to illustrate this is not easy. Me telling you it's not easy is not to tell you not to do it. It's telling you that it's not easy. It takes time. It takes consistency like anything. So maybe you know, maybe you don't. Most salespeople only contact a lead once. When you contact that lead 3 times, your chances of converting them go up to 81%. When you call them 6 times or contact them 6 times, your chances of converting them go up to 93%. So again, consistency and continuing to do the things that you're supposed to do. One thing I'm going to ask this, this is not one of the questions for a prize, but I want to see if anybody knows this. Contacts 5 through 12. What do you think the conversion rate is for that? Percentage wise. Robert says 80, 20.
what did you say again? What's the question?
In contacts 5 through 12. Brian, $1, does that make sense? It's not Price is Right, man. Contacts 5 through 12. What do you think the the conversion percentage is. Matt said 15.
You mean like touch point 1 through 12?
Yeah, touch point 5 through 12. What do you think that conversion rate is at that in that time frame? 83%. So contacts 5 through 12 is when 83% of your deals are made. That's when you get them turned into a client. So that's a pretty important thing to know. On average, it's going to take 18 contacts, 18 connections to contact that client to turn them into a client. So think about, on average, that's going to be your people that you talk to one time and they turn into clients. It's going to be somebody you talk to 50 times. That's the average. So roughly 18 times is how many times you have to contact these people to turn them into a qualified opportunity. Again, a big numbers person. So understanding these numbers, if you understand these numbers, it kind of helps you continue to go and do these things that you need to do. So here's one, maybe you know this. The best days to contact a lead are what day, or what is the best day overall? Tuesday. These are coming in quick, so nobody has it yet. Black Friday. All right, it is not every day ending in Y, but that is a good one. Got a lot of Sundays, Thursdays. So nobody got this one. It's actually Wednesday. And if you think about that, I think Christine, you got that before I even said it. So let's get her information. I'll send you something. Wednesdays, think about this. When do we make our listings live? Wednesday or Thursday, generally speaking, right? At least in our market, that's what we do. So people get through the weekend, they miss out on their houses, they sulk, they get pissed off, they get upset. By Wednesday, they're ready to go back at it again. So this is going to be the same for a new lead. You know, you may get a hold of them on a Wednesday. They may already have an agent, or they may be disenchanted with their agent. You get a hold of them, they're ready to go again. You can turn them into a lead. So just think about that. So it's Wednesdays, then Tuesdays, and then Thursdays, and then Tuesdays. So the middle of the week, after they get through the weekend and get into the meat of their day, of their week, that's when they start kind of reassessing and thinking about the next weekend coming up. So Wednesdays are the best, then Thursdays, then Tuesdays. So speed to lead, I think we already know, is super, super important. But did you know that if you are a resource to them in the first 5 minutes, that's the best time. After that, you're an interruption to their day. 78% of buyers choose to talk to the first person they talk to. So when I was making these calls, Realtor, Zillow, I can't tell you how many times I got the response like, "You're the first person that's called me back. Wow, you got to me fast." So speed to lead is super, super important. You will impress them just by picking up the phone and getting to them as soon as they come in, whether it's into your CRM, whether it's into your email, any of that kind of stuff. So that's an interesting part. So here's the next one. Responding to a lead within 5 minutes or less, how much more likely are you to convert? And this is a difficult one because it is a big number. So start there.
Ask the question again. So you're saying if the
So if
lead
you get
comes
to
in,
a lead comes in, you get to them within 5 minutes, how much more likely are you to connect and convert them than the average? Yeah, 80, 70, 90, very close. 75, 85, 85. All right, to not draw this out, it's actually you're 100 times more likely to convert them if you get to them within 5 minutes. So just think about that. Within 5 minutes, all you got to do is pick up your phone, give them a call, shoot them a text. You're 100 times more likely to get them and convert them into a buyer. All right, so move on to when we're dealing with leads. What are the types of leads? I put them in 3 buckets. We have top of funnel. That's going to be your Google pay-per-click, maybe even some YouTube stuff. You have bottom of funnel. That's going to be your Zillows, your Realtor.coms, and then referral leads, referral exchange, OpCity. Those are the type of internet leads that I've worked in the past that I've used for this stuff. So any questions about that? Does anybody have any other type of leads, online leads that they're using, that they're working with, that don't fall into those 3 buckets? Okay. So I don't know when I'm calling, what is the objective of a call? So I'm going to ask this again. This will be the last question, the last time you have to participate moving forward. But what is the point of calling a lead or a sales call? What is the point of a sales call? What is the point of calling a lead? What is your main objective? Matt
Make
said
a big
appointment,
decision.
appointment, appointment. Okay. So a lot of you that yes, it is to get an appointment, but your very first reason to be calling, making these 100, 200 dials every day, you've got to get through the no's to find the yeses. So keep that mindset. You're getting through the no's to get to that yes. How many no's does it take to get to the yes? If you're just worried about just setting an appointment, like these are not generally going to set an appointment with you the first time that they talk to you. You're going to take some time. You're going to have to create the rapport. You're going to have to build the relationship. So get the no, whether it's F off, F you, leave me the F alone, don't ever call me again. That happens. It happens a lot. And you're going to spend 2 hours calling. You're going to lick your wounds for an hour, and then you're going to go about the rest of your day. But your main priority of this is to get through those no's to get to those yeses. Okay. So when I was doing this, I would get a lead to come in. I would generally try to get to them within 3 minutes, quite honestly. I remember I'd be sitting at my living or a dining room table eating with my family. I get a realtor.com lead. My wife and I would lock eyes. She knew what was happening. I go out onto the front stoop and I call them. So from there, I would call every day for 21 days until I got an answer or I got a no. Once 21 days went by, I'd either archive them or I'd call them once per month. You don't want to continue to spin your wheels on these people that don't ever pick up the phone. So 21 days, 21 calls, there's text messages in there, there's emails in there, there's drip campaigns in there. But once you're through that 21 days and they've never answered you back, that has a very low chance of converting in the future. So however you want to do it, you can archive them. We archive them now. I would just continue to set follow-ups for months and months after. I couldn't even tell you honestly how many converted after that. I know it was a low number, but it was one call every single month, so it was worth it. All right, so now you've got a yes. What happens? It's time to nurture the lead. So that's what I said. You're getting that yes. It doesn't mean yes, I'm ready to buy right now. It's yes, I'm ready to buy sometime in the future. So what do we do with them? Most of the leads are not going to be ready day one, obviously. What you need to do now, you need to switch from trying to get that yes to listening to what they're saying. When you're talking on the phone with somebody, they're going to tell you, for the most part, or even in person, they're going to tell you everything that you need to know as long as you're listening. You do have to engage with them. You do have to ask questions, but you need to listen to them, let them lead the conversation within reason. But if you're on the phone, you need to get on that phone and off that phone as quick as possible. So really, you don't want to spend more than 3 to 5 minutes on this. If you can get somebody engaged, create some rapport. If you hear a dog barking in the background, ask about the dog. If they talk about a vacation and you've been there and you have something to say about it, talk to them about that vacation. Your only job, once you get that yes, maybe sometime in the future I'm ready to buy, or in a month I'm ready to buy, start building that rapport so they trust you. Because your ultimate goal will be to get them into the office for a buyer consultation and start showing them houses. So just creating that rapport, asking about the dogs, asking about things that interest them, listening to what they say. Like I said, they will tell you what they need you to know, what you want to know, what they need you to know as well. So before you're getting off the phone at that, and we're now, say we're called for seven days, we finally got in touch with them, we've talked to them, we've created a rapport. You know it's somebody that you have a chance to work with going forward. Before you ever get off that phone, that first time you connect with them, because remember, buyer leads, buyers are liars. They're going to say a lot of things. You may never get on another call with that person, but what I want you to do before you get off of there is set the next appointment. So it's super easy. Hey, Mr. Buyer, is it okay if, or I felt like we had a very good conversation today. Is it okay if I give you a call next Wednesday at 3:00? Generally going to say yes. You've now set the appointment, put it in your CRM for a reminder to give them a call back. Sometimes they'll show up, sometimes they won't. Don't take it personally. Again, buyers are liars. They're going to tell you stuff that they may or they may not show up. But if they show up for that next call, now you know that they're probably a true client potential or a true customer, somebody that you're going to be able to work with, and you can now start putting more and more time into them. So when I'm on the phone, scripts are important, but we don't want you on the phone sounding like a robot. So if you don't have scripts down so well that if you're saying them verbatim, you're going to lose every single time. You need to be good enough at them and know well enough what to say that you can pivot to to what's in the conversation. Again, you're trying to create rapport. Things are going to come up. They're going to ask questions. So you need to know what to say, but you don't want it canned. You want to flow with the conversation. So know your scripts, but don't be such a stickler for your script that it sounds scripted. You have to be able to think and talk freely, have a conversation. Again, creating rapport, have a conversation, talk to them about things that they want to talk about, and then redirect it back. You get 3 to 5 minutes to do this, get off the phone, go to the next one. Any questions about any of that? Okay. So I think the biggest thing that people don't necessarily understand is the call cadence. Once you make the connection, once you get these yeses. So once the initial call is done and you've set the next call, what does that look like? It's going to be directly tied to the conversation. So once you have that initial call and you've asked these questions, what are you looking for? Where are you looking for? What's your price point? Are you pre-approved? Do you have a realtor? Now you just have to continue to create that conversation on the next call. Hey, what's been happening over the next week? This is where you start to get to know them a little bit, and you continue to work stuff in. Eventually they'll tell you, they'll raise their hand when they're ready. The biggest thing that helped me on this is in my office where our old house, we had whiteboards. I had whiteboards everywhere. It was like a command center. I knew where all of my pipeline was. I knew what was in contract, what wasn't. And I had a whiteboard right here, right next to me, that I had all of my pipeline on it. It was anything under 30, anybody that was going to transact 30 days or less, anybody that was going to probably transact 30 to 90 days, and anybody that was going to take 90 days or over. And for this, the cadence is different for everybody. If they're 30 days and under, you better be talking to that person once a day, every other day, send them listings, emailing them, checking with them. This is somebody that you've created the rapport with, you've probably already had the buyer consultation with, you're already viewing properties, you're already showing properties, they've been pre-approved. So think of it that way. This is the person that you've worked so hard with them. They know they're buying a house. It's not a matter if, it's a matter of when and how. But you need to continue to follow up with them, because if you skip and don't talk to them for 4 to 5 days, somebody's brothers, sisters, dogs, uncles gonna be weaseling their way in. So that's a lead that you worked for. You made all the calls. You went through 200 leads to get that one buyer. Don't let it go by the wayside. You may have moved them from 90 days out to 30 days within 30 days. Don't waste it. Stay in touch with that person. 30 to 90 days, how I did it, I would touch them 1 to 2 times a week. That could be emails. Look at this as a maintenance call. They're not in the 90 day and over. They're in that 30 to 90. So they could really go back to the 90 day and over, or you could push them into the 30 day and under. It's just a matter of where they're at. This is somebody that you feel like is getting closer and closer. You may not have had the pre-approval done yet. You may not have had them in the office of the consultation to show your true value, but you've created the rapport. You've shown them some value. That's why they're continuing to talk to you. So reach out to them 1 to 2 times. Really, how are you doing? Anything changed? Are you ready to sit down with the lender and I? Have you been to any open houses? These are kind of window shoppers that are a little further in the process. So we encourage them to go check out open houses. We encourage them, if we have sent them lists of houses, to be checking on them. What this does is when you do move them in under 30 days, you've already started doing their homework for the time that they've been in that 30 to 90 day cycle. So they're going to have a lot more market information. So when you're talking to them, you're giving them market information. You're saying, hey, did you see this house on 123 Main Street? What did you think about that one? Is that something you could see yourself? So you're starting now to make notes. So when you do get to that 30 days or less, they're in contract in 10 days, because you're doing this work on your maintenance call, asking them these questions, following up with them, and again, creating more and more rapport. Then you have the 90 day plus. A lot of these are just going to fall by the wayside. You can do everything and anything you can. These are probably calls that you should be making every 2 weeks. These are people that could transact. Could meaning like could in bold capital letters. They could. It's not a would. They've talked to you. They're kind of standoffish still. It's your job to create that rapport, move them into the 30 to 90 or jump to the 30. They have reasons why they want to buy, they don't want to buy. So you've got to find out what is their reason for even looking into this. So you're going to ask more probing questions when you do get them on the phone. This is, like I said, probably every 2 weeks, maybe once a week. Everything, again, is going to go back to your personal experience on that call. They may be 90 days, but they may be more of a 30 to 90-day person, but you put them in the 90-day because they're kind of wishy-washy with you. So there's going to be exceptions for everything. But if you start really zoning in on what does your 30 days or less look like, what does your 30 to 90 days, and what does your 90 days over look like, you're going to have a lot more success, and you're going to start get that call cadence. You're going to be able to maintain these leads and these relationships. So the goal of I look at it as a funnel, 90 days to 30 to 90 to 30 and under. We're just funneling them through. The goal of that is to do it all in a timely manner, like 90 days or less. That'd be great. Doesn't always happen. I've had people I've worked with for 3 or 4 years. Just they could only come into town certain times, but just continuing that conversation. That's a long conversation to have for 3 to 4 years. But at the end of the day, they bought a house with me. They referred people to me, all that kind of stuff. So that's the name of the game. So once a lead got into that 30-day, I think I said this already, they knew they were buying a house. It was just a matter of who or where or how, and they knew it was going to be with me. It was nothing more that I had to worry about. So any questions on like that call cadence? Does that make sense? Do you understand the moving of them through the funnel? Okay.
This is great, Chris. Do you have like a graphic that you can share or put together and maybe drop it somewhere for people that would like to take it more visual?
Yeah, like the funnel, like the 30 to 90 and 90. Yeah, I can do
Yeah.
it. I looked for a picture because I knew I had pictures of it all. It's very simple. It's a column, a column, a column. 30 and under was red for hot. 30 to 90 was green, just kind of it's a touch and go, green go. And then 90 and over was blue. I don't know why it was blue, it just was. But it was just literally it's very archaic. It's really on a whiteboard. I erase them, I put them in, I move them from place to place. There's times I put in that they're pre-approved, I put their price range, all that kind of stuff. I will find something, or I'll write something up so that we have that, we can drop that sometime. Any other questions on the call cadence and that stuff? Okay. So this is probably you've you know the statistics on how difficult this is. You know the statistics now on, 1 out of every 200 leads you're going to convert into a client. So when you get them through all of this, you've done all this maintenance. The most important part of this, in my experience, is the buyer consultation. If you are buying leads right now and you do not have a buyer consultation, it is my thought to do yourself a favor, stop buying leads until you have a buyer consultation, because you don't have the close yet. It makes no sense to spend the money on the leads but have no way to close them. If you need help with a buyer consultation, please reach out. I'll help you. We've been doing buyer consultations and buyer brokers since 2014. It is a very easy process if you do the right stuff. So I'll go through what we kind of do right now. So when we're setting an appointment, we're thinking now they're in the probably in the 30 to 90. They've agreed that they're willing to sit down with us. So when setting the appointment for the in-person, here's my script. So Mr. Buyer, we'd love to have you come into the office and meet with my lender and I, so we can get you ready to purchase a house. In this consultation, we're prepared to give you 60, and this is the hook. We're prepared to give you 60 to 90 minutes of our undivided attention to see how we can help you purchase a home. This is free to you. And in this consult, you can vet us and we will vet you to make sure we're a good fit to work together. Is Monday or Tuesday at 3 p.m. better for you? Remember, this is a free service to you. So the hook is we're giving you 60 to 90 minutes of our time. It costs you nothing. Before you leave that, if you bring everything we need, you will be pre-approved and we can walk out that door and we can go look at houses. I've had it happen multiple times where they sign everything and we have scheduled 3 showings before we even leave that buyer consultation. Okay. So the powerful of that, when you get to that, because it is so professional, they're going to ask you if they need to bring anything. That's probably going to be their number one question. So the way we handle this, when they say, will you bring anything? I said, yeah, if you can, it would be great. If you can bring your last 2 years of W-2s and tax returns and your last 2 months of bank statements and pay stubs, that will get us off to a great start. Now you've got to have already created the rapport, the trust, all that kind of stuff. Because I tell people this all the time, and I always they always wince at me. It's not as hard as what it sounds, but those are all the documents you and your lender need to pre-approve them. Because when they're in that buyer consultation, I want to know, as long as they're okay with it, I want to know where their credit is. I want to know their reserves. I want to know what they make. I want to know what they can afford. I want all this information because that, for me, makes me a better agent to negotiate for them. Because now when I'm talking to a listing agent, I'm assuming most of us, if not all of us, are calling a listing agent before we put in an offer. I know they're either putting 0% down because they're VA, or they're putting 50% down because they're selling a house. I know kind of where their credit is. And I'm not sharing all of this with the agent, but when I get questions, I can answer these questions. Like, are they credit worthy? Yeah, they have great credit. They're putting 20% down conventional, or, they're good. They're putting 3.5% down. Their FHA. You can have these conversations. You're not giving information to the listing agent, but you're doing the best you can for your client. But you're getting all this information when you're sitting in this consultation with the client and your lender. So the next biggest thing on this, once you've set the appointment, once you've went through all that, within 24 hours, if you're not confirming that appointment, you're probably wasting a lot of time. It's very difficult once you go through all of this to get them into the office. That hook took our success rate from about 40% to about 85% show rate. So just making sure they know this is free to them. We're giving you our time. We want to help you. It's changed the whole dynamics of everything. But need to be calling them within 24 hours, either the day before or the morning of. And again, this is what we were telling you. Mr. Buyer, just confirming our appointment. Did you say something?
Yeah, I think we should stop for a second and kind of digest some of the things you've said. What do you feel is the biggest challenge you've had when you were doing this? What were the biggest obstacles that you feel like you encountered? And then what are the things you did to be able to offset those?
Just continuing the funnel, continuing moving these people through the funnel. Because like I said earlier, you may have one shot to get that person on the phone, and that conversation may be one of the best conversations you ever have. So that's why I want, right before I get off the phone, I want to set that next appointment. I want to tell them when I'm calling them again to see how they receive that. That got the phone to be picked up a lot more. And then also the change with before we were just having them come in. When we started using like, your time is valuable, our time is valuable. If you can't make it, please just reach out and let us know. No hard feelings. And that's actually in the next part. Sorry, I skipped forward a little bit.
Chris,
But
I think also, like, what I've noticed is that most agents have this tendency to want to work with a lead that's ready to go today.
Yeah.
And that was good, 15 years ago, right? Because most of the time you wouldn't know that someone was looking to buy a house or sell a house until they like reached out to an agent saying, "Okay, I'm ready to go." And that was like, within 30 days, you got them under contract and they're done. Now with technology and stuff like that, we're able to get this lead well in advance, well before they're actually ready to start pulling the trigger on buy something. And what ends up happening is that agents, because they're not used to the follow-up, they're not used to nurturing the lead, they're just a hunter and closer, that they cherry pick the ones that are lower down the funnel, but they miss out on the 80-90% that will transact, but are going to take 90 days to a year or 2 years. So
Yep.
what would you say are, I know you mentioned a couple of things, but if you were to think about what is the 2 or 3 things that has been the most beneficial to continue staying in touch with them. Obviously, most people have CRMs that they should be using to, the best level to set reminders for themselves to check on them, to connect with them. But are there things you feel like that can be done? Because sometimes if it's a lead that we get that has no intentions of buying right now for a year, they really don't want to talk to an agent. And so you pushing them out, it's going to make them do just say, dude, you're a nuisance and I don't want to talk to you. So what are some things that you can, that you felt like you've done to be able to either reignite a lead or to kind of connect with them on that nurture process?
Yeah, I mean, now what I did 10 years ago is completely different than what we do now. So now I don't pick up the phone anymore because I used to spend 3 to 4 hours on the phone every single day for 2 years. I hate being on the phone. I do not want to pick up the phone. So I have an ISA that calls for 2 hours a day for me. We now have AI overlay. We have the ISA calling. We have task lists in our CRM that have to be cleared out by the agent every single day. We have a lender who gets in there and call, and the lender has a call center that calls. So it just goes back to the consistency and continuing to pick up that phone and call. There's no silver bullet. There's no magic bullet to this. It's getting in there and doing that labor of calling, or if you don't feel like calling, there's check equity. Write a check and have an ISA call for you, or find an agent that will call for you that can be good on the phone. But it's the consistency of the calls, and then when you're presented with their pain point, understanding what to say in the flow of conversation, and that just comes with time. You can practice and practice and practice, but like again, you don't want it to sound mechanical. So get with a role play partner and just have conversations like this. Fire back at each other, rebuttals to make it harder, and just start getting comfortable with having those rebuttals just come up in the flow of conversation. And really, that's what unlocked it. It was clunky for the first 6 months, but
So,
once you're
so I love that, Chris. Why don't we do that right now? Why don't we take a moment to role play some objections that I think we would encounter today in this market, right? It's different than 6 months ago. So if you call me, why don't you give me a call and we can role play me being a
ring
buyer.
ring.
Hello.
Hey Nazar, this is Chris. I saw that you, Chris, with the Shannon Group at Five Realty. I saw that you just registered on our home search website. Was wondering if there's anything I can help you with.
Yeah, I was actually looking to see that home this afternoon. Are you the listing agent?
I am not on this one, but I can definitely help you with that. Do you already have an agent?
No, but I heard with all the stuff that's going on, I don't want to actually pay for a buyer's agent. I just want to deal directly with the listing agent. So, do you happen to know who the listing agent is? I was looking it on Zillow and I thought I was calling the listing agent.
Yeah, I can give you that information, but what I want to let you know is if you were working directly with the listing agent's fiduciary duty is directly to the seller. So when you do call them and talk to them, you're not going to save any money, generally speaking. You may, I can't say yes or no, but that agent does represent the seller. They do not represent you. So it is good to come into these type of transactions with your own representation. I'd love to show it to you. Are you already pre-approved?
I'm paying cash for the home. I mean, this isn't my first rodeo. I've bought several
Okay.
properties before, and now that I've found out that I would be responsible, before I didn't care, to have a buyer's agent represent me, but nowadays with it being on me, I'm not gonna. I can handle negotiating on my own, so I'm just gonna deal direct with the listing agent.
Okay, that is completely up to you. Again, I'll just go back to that listing agent does represent the seller and the seller only. You are not going to generally have representation, so it is good point to have somebody on your team to represent you.
Yeah.
And most sellers are still offering commission to the buyer's agent, so that's a conversation. We can go look at the house, we can meet each other, see if we're a fit. We may not even be a fit once we meet each other. Who knows? But we can go and take a look at the house. I can ask the seller before we even go, the listing agent before we even go, if they are offering buyer side compensation. And if they aren't, then I can give you their number and go straight there. But I would at least like to get a chance to earn your business and make sure that your interests are covered in this transaction.
Well, in the odd chance that they are willing to pay a compensation to a buyer's agent, will you split it with me?
I cannot do that because you're not a licensed realtor. That is illegal. I'm just going to be completely upfront and honest with you. That is just not allowed. And if you find a realtor that does, that's great. I would just be very careful.
Hmm. Well, my last realtor did that. He gave me a kickback.
Did he pay you at closing, or did he pay you outside of closing? Because there are ways that you can get around it
Yeah, through closing.
through closing. Okay. Well, I mean, if you already have that agent, maybe you should give them a call. It doesn't at this point sound like we're going to be anybody that we can work together. So I can give you the listing agent's number. Or you can give your old buyer's agent a call.
Okay, yeah, go and give me the listing agent's number. I'll talk to him directly.
Okay. And there's times you just have to throw that fish back in.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys, like, you will run into people like that, right? That they're just very, and I like how you said, hey, they're working with someone else. One of the things that I think has, at least for me, been beneficial or helped them see a little more clearly what that means is bringing up attorneys. Now, we're not attorneys, but that analogy for me works really well in helping someone else understand, right? So I would say, hey, what's the price point of a home that you're looking at buying? And I have to say, well, I'm looking at buying a $700,000 property. And I say, okay, cool. So if you were being sued for $700,000 by somebody was suing you for $700,000, would you then go ahead and run back and hire their attorney to represent you in that lawsuit? And I just shut up. Let them think about that for a second. And a lot of times, unless they're just a little dense, they'll be like, well, no, I wouldn't. They're like, yeah, well, that's exactly what this is, right? Even though in our state or in the United States, you could theoretically be represented by one agent that represents both buyer and seller. But guess what happens? You as a seller or you as a buyer want the what? When you want to get this property, what do you want to happen? You want to get the lowest price possible, right? And what does the seller want? The seller wants the highest price possible. And then it's not just the price. It's now you get into the repairs, the terms. All those things are negotiated. And when you have a buyer and seller, they want conflicting things. And so when you're going into a process of buying a home that's $700,000 or whatever price point it is, right? Do you really want someone that's going to be negotiating against you? Because their whole responsibility is to represent the seller because the seller's paying them. And then ultimately, if you go directly to the listing agent isn't going to represent you for free. So they're going to have to, the listing or the seller is going to have to pay them, or you're going to have to pay them, right? You guys all understand that, right? Like theoretically, starting July, if you come to me if I have a listing and you come to me and you want me to represent you because you don't have representation because you think you're going to save money, I'm not working for you for free. I already have an agreement with the seller that I'm going to charge them whatever percentage I'm going to charge them to sell their home. But I also have in that same agreement that if a buyer comes along that doesn't have representation, then that seller's paying me more money. So, Mr. Buyer, I want you to know that even though you go directly to the listing agent, they're going to make more money because the seller still has to pay that agent to represent you because you don't have it, or they're going to charge you that amount. I don't know, just some thoughts out there. I mean, I could be a complete dick when it comes to that, but and I think it's okay to role play that because you're going to have people that are dicks like me that are going to be like, no, I'm going to go directly to the listing agent. And in fact, I used to get that, objection all the time, right? And so if you don't have that like dialed in and have different ways and be able to articulate the value that you bring to the table, you will let go. You'll say, well, I'm going to leave that fish back in the pond. But the thing is, I would challenge everybody to think of, did you have to let go of that fish back in the pond because that was just an unreasonable buyer, or because you didn't know how to articulate your value proposition? Right? Which one do you think it would be? And the more better we can get as agents, especially in this climate that we're in, if you don't have an ironclad value that you're giving to them and are able to instill doubt in them and solve those objections, then you're going to be out. You're going to have to let that fish go back in the pond over and over and over again. And Chris, if you think about it today, as we move forward and as our industry continues to change, there are going to be more people that are going to be challenging us as buyers agents. And it's not just because like the whole thing before we'd say, oh, well, I've got your best interest at heart. Well, what the hell does that mean? What does it mean that you've got my best interest at heart? Shouldn't it be an obvious thing that you have my best interest at heart? Like there's got to be more that we as agents have to like be able to know. And if you don't have that down, if you don't practice it and you're like, well, I don't know, it's too scary. Well, guess what? That's what you have to practice today. I mean, I think I'm not going, I am totally going off a tangent, Chris, and I apologize, but I think it's important for
this is good stuff.
No, it's important for all of us to know, like pay attention. And for those that don't have your cameras on, for the love of all mankind, turn your damn cameras on. Sheesh. Okay, sorry. Okay, so if we are there, you're talking to a buyer on the phone or in person. Like it is so critical for every single one of us. And you guys, it's not like there's 20 different objections. And if someone gives you an objection, like, I don't know what to say, then shut up. Like that's what the most of the time that when we are spending the 8 hours or 9 hours in the day that you're working, if you're not with a client, you should be practicing handling objections. If you're not doing that, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to come across a buyer and they're going to tell you something and you're going to look like a schmuck because you're not going to know how to answer that question. And you're going to lose them. And then you can tell whoever gave you that lead, either you paid for it or it was provided to you by the team that you were a part of. and you're gonna tell them, well, that was a shitty lead. That was a crappy lead. I'm gonna say, bullshit, you're the shitty agent that couldn't handle that objection. You're the agent that couldn't close it.
So Nazar, I don't know if we've talked about this or not, but I talked to my pay-per-click guy who's supposed to send me some articles on this. But come in January, and I don't know how many people know this. This is going to be important. January, there's legislation going into law, and I can get more information and share this a little bit more. I'm not fully versed on this, but January, all these Zillow and Realtor.com leads, they're not going to be shared leads. They're going to be, they're going to go to one agent. So what's that going to do? The price is going to jump. So if you're buying leads, understand that. If you haven't started a pay-per-click campaign and you're not gathering that data to get cheaper leads, you should probably start looking into that so you can control your own fishing pond. Not getting these leads at double, triple the cost that they are now from a Zillow or Realtor.com, especially if you don't know how to handle a rebuttal or what to say or how to do a buyer consultation or a call cadence or any of that stuff. So that is happening in January. New legislation's coming in where these leads will not be shared anymore. So you know just as well as I do, the price of those things is going to go way up. So we started a campaign, pay-per-click campaign back in December to start getting ready for this, to start collecting data and start getting our own leads directly into our CRM.
I think it's critical that, yes, I believe that wholeheartedly that's going to happen. And obviously with the Zillow's new, like 1 week, whatever thing that they're doing now, it is absolutely paramount, you guys, just to rehash that same point I'm making over and over again, that every single one of you, look into the camera, look into my eyes, every single person, thank you, Lisa, I'm still waiting for you to tell me your last name.
All right,
Every
Brandon.
single person, if you do not know how to solve or resolve the objections that they have, if you cannot tell someone why they should sign a buyer broking agreement with you, you are going to be out of business by 2024. I hope that rings to your soul. If you cannot do that, you're going to be out of business. And if you're not spending the time now because you're like, oh, well, I don't have to work on until July. It's happening now. If you cannot articulate that today, then you're going to be out of business. And for those that are in markets that you guys already do that, that's great. But now you're going to start competing with other people, because just like on listing appointments, unless they know you, they're a friend, they're going to list with you no matter what. If you're doing a buyer broker agreement and they acknowledge that they're going to sign, they're going to start questioning, well, why should I hire you? And oh, by the way, what is your fee? And they're going to start interviewing agents for the job of representing them as a buyer. And then it's going to be about, well, what is your fee? Yours 3%. What about yours? Yours at 2.5%, and you guys are at 2%. Cool. Hold on, you got to turn yourself on mute, buddy. Okay. If you are there and you can't share your value between the 2%, the 2.5%, or 4%, or whatever you charge, that's another thing that you have to overcome. So I encourage every single one of you guys, like, you could buy 1,000 online leads, and it's just pissing money away, right? If you don't know how to share your value with them.
Yeah, what we're teaching in our calls is right now you got to start. If you don't have a buyer consultation, get one. Reach out to me, I'll help you craft one. But your buyer consultation is now just as important as your listing presentation. If it was before, but it just wasn't brought into the light. You are now auditioning for every single buyer you sit in front of. So if you do not have that buttoned up, if you do not have a lender there, if you're not getting document, you need to button up your buyer consultation. Get them in the office, one, so you see them and you're safe. Two, so you can understand where they are financially and know what they're going to buy. And three, you create the rapport. Once you move them through all of this and get them into the buyer consultation, by the time you're done with this, while they're doing this, your lender's in there pre-qualifying, pulling credit, you're hearing the income numbers, all that kind of stuff. While they're doing that, you're conversating in between. But I'm pulling up the MLS, I'm getting them set up on their search based off of where they want, how many beds they want. So all of this is happening all at the same time, seamlessly. They don't even know it's happening. They get their final numbers. I send them an email. I look at them. I said, your first list of houses are in your email. Your portal account's now open. Let me know when and what you want to go see. And here's my buyer broker agreement. I slide it over. And generally, because you've showed so much value through that whole process and in that meeting, that they have no issues with signing. We got 99.9% of them signed. I think one person pushed back and they ended up signing anyway. But your job is just to provide the value. And you have to look at it as you're not ever going to sign a 1-day listing contract. So why are you signing a 1-day buyer agreement? And that's a big thing for me. Maybe you don't agree with it, but I'm not going and showing one house at a time. You're either tied to me or you're not. I just don't have the time to just single houses, especially with everything coming. And I'm working with an agent right now on his calls and all that kind of stuff. And I said, we were talking about it. And he said, well, that doesn't go in effect till July. Yeah, I get it. But why are you waiting until July to start it? Perfect it now. Get it nailed in now. You have 2 months to get 2.5 months to get ahead of your competition. Have this dialed in and just be ahead of the game. Start dialing that in, start getting that done, start thinking of that buyer presentation as a listing presentation. They may not sign with you, but provide so much value in that initial buyer consultation that they're going to think of everything that you're doing and they're going to compare you to everybody else after that. Because if you're taking care of that now, you have 2.5 months. Even if you only sit with 3 people a month, you've now practiced that 8 or 9 times. I bet you 90% of your market is not going to practice at all until July 24th. That's going to be the first time that they even think they have to start practicing that. Get ahead of it. Do it now. Get your buyer's consultation together. If you're buying leads and you don't have it, stop buying leads. Get your buyer consultation together. Get your stuff in order.
You guys, on the 23rd of May, I'll be leading this masterclass, and we're going to dive in a little bit deeper on this topic when it comes to not necessarily signing a buyer broker agreement, but how to truly understand how things are changing. Because I think some agents are still unclear of what this means to the buyer and the seller and you, and how to properly work it. Because there's some brokers out there that are telling their agents that they need to get a compensation agreement from the listing agent before they show any homes. So that they're saying, before you show property, you're going to call the listing agent and you're going to get them to send you confirmation of a contract saying what compensation they're willing to offer. And they're saying, if you don't do that, then you can't show the home. Like, there's so much miscommunication that's out there, and so much like misunderstanding of why this is happening and what the whole point is, and how amazing this is going to be moving forward for those that really understand it and are able to articulate why this is. It's going to be awesome. So please, mark your calendars, come back on the 23rd. I mean, obviously come back every week, but on the 23rd, I will be going deep diving into this a little bit more so you guys can get a very clear understanding. And hopefully, independent of what brokerage you're at, you can get a very clear, distinct, okay, this is how it works. This is how it was in the past. This is how it's going to be moving forward. And this is how it benefits me. This is how it benefits the seller. This is how it benefits the buyer. And I think that's going to be critical for all of us to be on the same page when it comes to that. Chris, any other thoughts or things that you would share when it comes to how to, connect with those online leads and getting them to move forward?
No, I mean, like I said, your initial point of doing the calls is to get through the no's, to get through the yeses. Then you're tasked with continually maintaining and doing maintenance on these leads, setting the appointments, getting them to show up, and people are gonna fall off. It's gonna happen. But the ultimate end goal of all of these calls and maintenance is to get them in that office for a buyer consultation. Because what the buyer consultation does is it creates and it establishes your professionalism from that first meeting. And if you present that professionalism in that meeting, you'll be able to control the narrative of that deal from day one to the end of it, unless you just get somebody who's a complete wackadoo, which does happen, and the wheels fall off. But you're controlling the situation. You're controlling what's happening, having them come to you, having them sit with your lender. Don't force them to get pre-approved by your lender. You can't do that. That's illegal. We know that. You ask, hey, are you okay if my lender comes in? Whatever you have to say. I use my lender personally for my home purchases, the rental properties, all that kind of stuff. That goes a long way. But they're always welcome to talk to whoever they want. But you need to get them in, one, to show the professionalism, control the narrative of this. And then, guys, the one thing people don't understand, these buyer consultations keep you safe. If they're going to show up into the office to meet with you and your lender, most likely they're not going to try to harm you when you're out showing houses. So that's another thing. Get them in the office so that they're real people, or do it at a coffee shop. It doesn't matter where, but have your buyer consultation and start setting that professionalism from day one and keep yourself safe. beyond that, it's a grind. It's a grind every single day. Like I said, I used to do it 3 to 4 hours a day. I probably made 250 to 300 calls. I absolutely hate being on the phone anymore. Like my wife won't even call me because she knows I will not answer, even for her. My dad, I'm still trying to train him to text me unless he really needs me. Like that's how much I hate being on the phone. You will get beat up. You may need an hour or a half hour before you call to psych yourself up, and you may need a half hour, an hour after to kind of lick your wounds. But the fruits of your labor will be tenfold. Like this was me not ever doing any type of real estate, coming from just different businesses and different jobs before, just knowing I had to put in the work, understanding I had to learn the scripts, and just putting in the labor. 56 units later, my first year, you know, my goal was to have a paycheck every single week that first full-time year. I did it plus 4. So you can do it. I had no sphere of influence, so it had to be like we had just moved to the city, so it had to be just sweat equity, dial, talk, show houses, all of that. It's not easy. I'm not here to tell you it's easy, but if you do it and you stay consistent with it, it can be a huge part of your business if that's what you choose.
Awesome. All right, you guys, thank you so much for your time. Yeah, Martha's asking if you've got any scripts that you use that you can share with everybody.
Honestly, Martha, I don't. If you ever want to just jump on a call and just role play with me, I'd be happy to do that with you. Just kind of do that. Like I said in the beginning, we have scripts. I honestly don't know where they are because I don't look at them anymore. Um, you don't want to just be scripts. You want to be able to have the guardrails of the script and kind of go where you need to just based on the conversation. So if you ever want to do that, look me up, give me a call. I'm happy to set up a role play call with you, till you feel like you're comfortable.
Okay, sounds good. All right, well, Chris, thank you so much again for leading this master class. I hope that you guys found some value or found some value. Also, I encourage you guys to really dive deep and say, do I really want to just cherry pick, or do I want to long-term nurture these people and do it the right way so I can connect with them? And there's obviously so many other ways that you can reach those touch points so that you can make more of that connection and ultimately make enough connections where they know who you are and feel comfortable with having you represent them in purchasing their next house. So thank you again, Shannon. We'll see you guys next week. Otherwise, you guys have an amazing weekend. Bye.
Thanks, guys. See you.